Hello folks, how are you all doing? Welcome back to my weekly segments called Esther Speaks, and this is the one channel that helps the everyday person learn how to advocate for social justice. So let's get right into today's lesson. Lesson. You know I'm a teacher, you are. The article we're focusing on today is written by a well-versed writer based in San Francisco, Miss Katrina Schwartz. She is a writer for KQED in California. And she wrote her article based on the bestseller author Ibram X. Kendi. He wrote the book How to Be an Anti-Racist. Now this is a really powerful book, so you should definitely get it and you should read it, and comment below if you've read it and if you plan on reading it. I fully plan on buying my copy today. Now the reason why I chose this article is because her article is titled, and as you know,
how Ibram X. Kendi's definition of anti-racism applies to school.
We can advocate for social justice using this article. Even if you're not an educator, you will still learn it from today's article. All right, so the very first thing that she talked about was how we as Americans have started to realize that racism permeates every area of our lives. And she also talked about how many of us, me included, do not want to talk about racism. We do not want to confront racism. As a matter of fact, as she says, confronting racism is hard. There are also people who say maybe we shouldn't talk about racism at all. And their justification for that is, if we talk about it too much, aren't we just escalating things? They say the more we talk about it, the higher the tension on racism and unsettlement among people. And that's how she connects what we're talking about today to Mr. Kendi's book, which is that racism is very much like cancer. And just like cancer, racism is embodied in all of our politics, which is why it's very important that we talk about it, as difficult as it is to talk about it. As he rightly says, just like not talking about cancer will make it go away. And so what do we do? What is our next step? Well, what we must do, according to what Ms. Katrina Schwartz said, is we need to treat racism just like cancer. In Mr. Kendi's exact words, Americans must fight racism by becoming anti-racists. Now you might be asking, what is an anti-racist? How can I be an anti-racist? That is a good question. An anti-racist is somebody who shares anti-racist ideas or supports anti-racist policies with their action. According to him, simply put, an anti-racist idea is an idea that supports that all racial groups are equal. He says we must fight racism just like we fight cancer. How do we fight cancer? You find a tumor, you surgically remove it, you flood the body with medicines for those invisible tumors I didn't see, and then you watch it closely so that you can attack those tumors before they become cancer again. It is the same thing with being an anti-racist. We find those tumors, policies, and then we surgically remove them. That sounds painful. That's because dealing with racism, just like we're dealing with cancer, is painful, but not impossible. What is impossible is dealing with racism without pain. So now what are we to do? When we become anti-racist, we think of ideas and policies. So you can be an anti-racist, and all you need to do is to make sure that you are supporting ideas, policies, thoughts, and feelings that states that all racial groups are equal. So, to put it in a different way that will help us learn how to be advocates for social justice, think of it this way, using the exact words of Mr. Kendi. An anti-racist person sees somebody behaving negatively or positively, and that's all they see. The behavior is not the person. To be an anti-racist is to de-racialize behavior, because behavior is what people do, not what a race does. So what has that got to do with you? Being an anti-racist is something that any of us can do. Think about it. When you see a policy, a choice, a thought expressed, showing a behavior or a support that does not cater to all racial groups being equal, in that moment, the choice that you make can be anti-racist, not supporting those choices or policies or behaviors. That way, the word racist doesn't feel like a personal attack, not to anybody, and racism can be used, listen carefully, for any person at any moment, not for a group of people. Which means that anti-racists are individuals that are aware that behaviors can be racist and anti-racist from the same person. And anti-racists can see that choices that are negative and positive and racially unequal can be displayed by the same person. It can be displayed by me. It can be displayed by you, which means that we can all learn to be anti-racist. All right then, now that we know how to be an anti-racist, here is your homework for this week. Think to yourself, how have I consumed racist ideas? And how can I adopt anti-racist ideas? Think of one way that you have consumed racist ideas based on how we were raised. And then secondly, think of one anti-racist idea that you can try this week. All right, y'all have a wonderful day. Bye.